This meeting is now called to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Prince?
Here.
Mr. Person?
Here.
Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Corman?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Mr. Bravoni?
Here.
Ms. Perez? Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
Thank you, Megan. First item on the agenda is a proclamation.
This proclamation is for Ready and Renton Month. Whereas September has been designated by the President of the United States of America as National Preparedness Month and coincides with the City of Renton's Ready and Renton, coincides with the City of Renton's Ready and Renton Emergency Preparedness Campaign. And whereas Renton has experienced natural and human-caused disasters in the past, and scientific evidence indicates the city and the region remain vulnerable to disasters in the future. And whereas the city and region are particularly at risk for potential damage due to earthquake activity. And whereas investigating in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, our businesses, and our neighborhoods can reduce injuries, fatalities, and economic devastation from disasters of all kinds. And whereas the basic steps of emergency preparedness are the same for everyone, make a plan, build a kit, and help one another. And whereas staying informed is a vital part of responding appropriately to emergencies, and all members of the Renton community are encouraged to participate in local preparedness activities and to review the Ready in Renton campaign materials at rentonwa.gov. And whereas Ready in Renton creates an important opportunity for every member of the Renton community to prepare their homes, businesses, and neighborhoods for any type of emergency. Now, therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2015 to be Ready in Renton Month in the City of Renton, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 10th day of August 2015. And is signed by Mayor Dennis Law.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
I move that this proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Corman, that this proclamation be adopted as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The reason that Renton is so ready for a disaster is because we have the best emergency management director in the entire region, Deb Needham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I wanted to note that one of the reasons that we put earthquake in as a focus this year is there was a lot of alarm generated in the region around the New Yorker article, and I'm supposing from seeing nods of heads that some of you have read that article. And in that, some comments were made, things like everything west of I-5 will be toast. It was kind of alarmist language. Fortunately, the New Yorker followed up with a more sensible message about preparedness a couple weeks later. But I just wanted to let people know, let the residents of Renton and let the mayor and members of council know that the city has been constantly preparing for earthquake risks. This is not a surprise to us. We've been participants in the regional catastrophic planning team for a matter of years now. This is an 8-county region that plans together for catastrophic disasters such as earthquakes. And it really makes a difference. The things that we're doing as a region, the things that we're doing in the city makes a real difference. The purpose of Ready in Renton is to make sure that residents and businesses in Renton know that what they do to personally prepare can make a difference as well. There's many websites people can get really good information on, makeitthrough.org, redcross.org, and also our own website, rentonwa.gov, has lots of information on how to be prepared. We also have the Renton Emergency Preparedness Academy, which is a partnership with Renton Technical College and the American Red Cross. We offer many free classes all the time, so watch for that in the What's Happening catalog that comes to your door. And we also have opportunities for people to volunteer, so people can get prepared and get their communities prepared ahead of time by volunteering. We have community emergency response teams where we train residents to respond to things just like earthquake, to take sensible steps to protect themselves, their families, and their communities, and really help us become a more resilient city. We have an AmeriCorps volunteer coming in this year. We have been once again granted a full-time person for 10 and a half months. She's a trained geologist, so we're going to be doing a special focus this year on geological hazards like earthquakes and landslides. And after the tragic landslide in Oso last year, that's an awareness that we all have as well. So we'll be focusing on that. There's also the Great Washington Shakeout. It's an earthquake drill coming up on October 15th at 10:15 a.m. It's a chance to get your household members to prepare as well, thinking about earthquake, talking about it, and planning for it. So when we prepare together as a community and everyone does their part, we'll get through the next earthquake as a community. So thank you very much for the designation, and I'm hoping this raises awareness for everyone.
Thank you, Deb.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to two special presentations. The first one is going to be the exciting opening of the downtown library, and we've got Terry Gashiyama to introduce our guests.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council President, who's not here, and council members. I would like to introduce to you first Erica Ritchie, who is our chairperson of our library board, and John Sheeler, who is the cluster manager for KCLS, and they like to extend an invitation to you tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council President, and council members. My name is Erica Ritchie. I serve as the chair of the Renton Library Advisory Board, and I'm very happy to be here tonight to invite each of you to join us at the opening celebration for the Renton Library on August 22nd. On behalf of all the advisory board members, and we are just so thrilled to be opening a state-of-the-art library right here in Renton. I've served on the board since it was established, and I can say that each of us have really enjoyed being a part of this process from the beginning, so thank you very much for the opportunity. Going forward, we look forward to continuing our work and to make sure that the library programs and services continue to be a good fit for the citizens here in Renton, as well as opening the Renton Highlands Library later this year. To share more details with you about the opening celebration, here's John.
Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council President, and council members. August 22nd will be a great day to visit the new Renton Library. We're going to start the morning with a rousing performance by the Hazen High School Marching Band. All 60 members will be there. We'll gather at the public entrance and have a few words of celebration and inspiration from Mayor Law, from our Library Director Gary Wasden, and from some local dignitaries, including Erica Ritchie of the Library Advisory Board and Rose Kohler of the Friends of the Renton Libraries. We'll have a nice big ribbon on the door, and promptly at 10 o'clock, the kids will be invited to come up, help us cut the ribbon, and then they'll get to experience first. They'll be the first ones in to the new library to enjoy the building, the collection, the materials, the computers, just everything we have to offer. We'll also have a morning performance by Eli Rosenblatt, a popular family entertainer who joined us at the Renton Community Center in June to kick off our summer learning program. We'll also have, courtesy of the city and your special events crew, a barbecue in Liberty Park. So there'll just be a lot of good activities taking place in the library and at Liberty Park. I look forward to seeing as many of you there as can make it. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. Look forward to it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is a special presentation from our favorite friends who put on the Return to Renton Car Show every year. So Jim McZegan's making his way up here. What I'd like to do, Clay, if you can hear me in the back room, I'd like to get all the volunteers, we got a ton of them in here, to stand up and so the camera can catch you. And Brian, I know you're not going to stand up, but you can wave your hands, and we'll see you there too. So that's great. We appreciate you all being down here. Thank you.
Great group of folks. Well, I am Jim Medzegan, as mentioned, and I'm representing our committee tonight. And this year's car show was held on Sunday, July 12th, downtown Renton again. It was our 25th anniversary. Wow. We had 325 classic vehicles on display, and we estimate 4,000 spectators viewed the vehicles. We'd hoped for 400 automobiles or more, but there's a little rain in the morning, and I think it scared off some of our participants, but we were pleased with those that did show up. We did a quick study this year regarding where did our classic car participants come from, and I find it kind of interesting. 43% came from the Renton area, 16% from Kent and Auburn, 11% from farther out, southeast King County, like Puyallup, et cetera, Covington, and 10% from each of three areas, 10% from Tacoma, 10% from Seattle, and 10% from Bellevue, Kirkland combined. So to me, the data demonstrates that we have become a regional car show. We draw people from all over. We felt it was a good show. Those of you that were able to see our logo was just over the top. It was a beautiful design representing our 25 years. We had over 60 local sponsors, which is just great. We gave out 40-some judge trophies, and it was financial success again this year. As in the past, we couldn't ask for better help from the city in terms of management, staff, police people, fire, everybody. We just really get good support. For next year, we've established Sunday, July 10th. I know Ed was already asking me about it. Sunday, July 10th, as next year's show date. We'll hold the show in downtown Renton, and our committee continues to meet monthly to ensure that the show will be the best it can be. We hope downtown businesses will continue to grow their involvement with us. This year we got a few sponsors from downtown. One business told another business, and so it was great that we're getting more involvement from the downtown, and they keep their businesses open. First, if you go back when we moved downtown, only a few businesses were even open that day, and so it's great to see them participate. We'll use the Piazza as our headquarters for registration, check-in, and presentation awards. And once again, I'd like to mention the city did a great job. The Piazza is a wonderful place for special events and for ongoing events such as the Renton Farmers Market. I would like to let people know, it's somewhat of a sad note, but my wife Joanne and I have decided to step down from the leadership team of the car show with the ending of this season. We've been quite involved for the past 10 years. And I won't mention any names, but I know a couple of people that are going to be 76 years old on their next birthdays and thought it's time to wind down a little bit. On the other hand, I know with Renton programs and volunteering, 10 years is not a long time. Because you folks know the kinds of volunteers we have in the Renton area. Ryan Runge, Ryan, would you raise your hand? Ryan has been co-chair for the past couple of years, and he's stepping into the sole chairperson this year unless the committee names a co-chair. And Ryan has really been in all areas and quite familiar with the operation. At this time, I'd like to ask Police Chief Kevin Milosevic to come forward. Chief, it's my privilege and honor to give you a trophy, yeah, right, to give you a plaque of this year's car show, and you can see that logo is just over the top. Yeah, and nice. Because we've crossed well over $200,000 of donations over the years, we thought we'd like to present a huge size check for $13,000 donation for this year, bring this to well over $200,000. Police Department run youth programs.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if the viewing audience heard what Jim said. Jim, if I heard you right, you said the Return to Renton Car Show has donated over $200,000. $225,000 to the police department over the years, and that $13,000. That's just really, really amazing.
That is great. Jim, before you, I think Kevin's going to probably say a couple words, but Brian, did you get a shot at them?
I'd like another one if possible.
If you could hold up the check, maybe come up here to the front and.
Sorry to do this with my iPhone, but honest, it's professional, I promise. Ready? Here we go. Thank you. Beautiful.
Great, thanks, Brian.
Well, thanks, Jim. You said it was going to be a big check, and it's a big check. I don't know how I'm going to get that in ATM, but I'll give it a shot. Again, this is such a great organization. For 25 years, they've They've worked throughout the year to put on a great car show. Every year it gets better and better, and it's a great cause. You know, we find opportunities within the police department to use this money for a variety of youth programs. This past year, we gave each varsity member of all 3 high schools boys and girls basketball teams a $100 voucher for new shoes this past year. It's one of the things we did this past year. So thank you, and we'll continue even after you're stepping aside. But we appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. And Jim, thank you for 10 years of service.
Really.
We can't thank you enough for that. It's okay. Moving on to the administrative report, Mr. Covington.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, several items. Wanted to let the public and you know that to mark your calendars, Friday, September 18th, noon to 1 p.m. at Riverview Park, out on 2901 Maple Valley Highway. We will have our grand opening celebration for the new bridge, the new Riverview Bridge, that'll be completed then. So put that on your calendars. We're excited about that and to finally have that project moving towards completion. This week, we'll have 2 Neighborhood Association annual picnics. On Wednesday, Maple Ridge Estates will have their picnic, and on Thursday, Liberty Ridge will hold their annual picnic in their common area. The Maple Ridge Estates picnic will be in the HOA area, which is located at Southeast 156th and 140th. As always, residents are encouraged to bring a potluck and come out to get to meet your neighbors and meet city folks who are going to be there. We have a number of street projects. A new one this week that I want to just let folks know with the groundbreaking today of the loft at 2nd and Main. There will be some construction activity that will involve some partial closures of streets in and around that area, so folks are just advised to use caution when you move through that area. You'll see at various times certain portions of lanes closed and redirection, in some cases rechannelization, as we move forward on the construction of that project. Again, as I mentioned last week, King County continues a closure of portions of Southeast May Valley Road between 223rd and 229th. And so folks moving out in that area just need to look for an alternative route. We continue our work out along Petrovitsky Road between 118th and Southeast 121st for repaving of some failed asphalt. We're continuing our annual overlay project, and so there's intermittent lane closures throughout the city. We'll also be continuing our work there at the corner of South 7th and Shattuck Avenue, and there will be some intermittent closures in that area as well. We wanted, as a final item, wanted to have Chief Mark Peterson from our fire department step up and give the council and the community a report on our 4th of July activities, particularly our efforts towards mitigating fireworks damage and our enforcement efforts. Chief Peterson.
Good evening, Council. It brings me great pleasure this year to give you my 4th of July report. Usually on July 5th, I dread going into the corner office and having to explain a lot of things to the mayor about why we're getting so many complaints about fireworks. This year, we had 141 responses on July 4th, so that's from midnight till midnight. Typical day, we're around 40 responses, 40 to 60 responses. You can see there that we had 100 fireworks complaint responses. We confiscated approximately 50 pounds of fireworks, and we issued 12 citations for about $2,400. The big thing there, though, is the fire loss was 0 on 4th of July. Between June 21st and July 7th, we did have some fireworks related responses. We had 8 brush fires, a dumpster fire, and then 2 structure fires. And the structure fires were apartment complex with siding damage and then a damage to a fence. So fences are considered structures in the reporting system. But what went well? We utilized message boards at Renton Technical College, Station 13, and the Community Center. Public Works provided signage on some of the poles around the city, throughout the city. We distributed over 2,500 posters and pamphlets to the apartment complexes and neighborhoods. And we strategically placed 3 enforcement teams based on last year's call data. So we used the call data from last year. The interesting thing is that most of our calls this year were up in the Highlands area. But really what was our success this year was the community involvement. We got the message out early, but we had a lot of people calling us wanting posters to give out into their neighborhoods. And so we actually had to go out and print more posters to get them out to our community. And they were actually our marshals on this. They went out to their neighbors and talked to their neighbors. You know, we had one of the driest years, and so a lot of people were concerned with the fireworks. So as these 3 community teams were out patrolling the communities, we were finding we were having most of our calls up in the Highlands area, and areas that we had calls in last year were quiet, so we ended up shifting these forces out to go up into the Highlands area and stuff. So I really give a lot of credit to our community and the citizens out there that were perseverant and really involved in this year's efforts. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I want to make just a quick comment. Even though we fared very, very well in Renton because of the emphasis in the fire department this year. I'll tell you, the dispatch center has never been busier. The dry weather certainly had a lot to do with it, but this region was on fire, and it was, we spent, our crew spent most of the evening up in Skyway putting out a couple of structure fires, and
Skyway and Kent.
there were fires all over the place. The number of dispatches was phenomenal that evening, so we were very, very fortunate. A lot of good work, and Ms. Perez, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that also I think you did a great job in social media, because I saw it several times how well it worked, advertising, because the community was well aware about the ban, and I think you guys used it really well.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corman.
Yeah, I want to echo the comments about the great job on the 4th of July. And then I had a question for Mr. Covington. If he could tell us again when the Riverview Park Bridge.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
Yes, September 18th.
Okay, September.
So you got some time. We'll have something out for you in writing
Okay.
for sure before. I just wanted to let the community know it's next month, and we'll report it out again on the 14th.
That's excellent. I'm delighted that'll be completed. Good.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Okay, we don't have anybody sign up for audience comment, and so we've got 8 items on the consent agenda for council consideration. Are there any items a council member would like pulled for discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item G.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I'd like to pull item E.
Okay. Any other items?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move we adopt the consent agenda items item E and G.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Corman, that council adopt the consent agenda minus items E and G. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item E says council concur, but it was actually supposed to be referred to planning and development. So I'm moving that we refer that to planning and development.
And I second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Corman, that item E be referred to the Planning and Development Committee. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Person.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item G concerns the approval of contract with Casey and Grove for public defense services for the next, until June 30th of 2018. This is a matter that has been in our committee and finance committee, discussed in the finance committee, and I think even in the public safety committee. And they have been our public defenders for a long time. They do an excellent job, and other cities in the neighborhood have decided they went out for a request for a proposal, and they didn't get any response. So my attitude is that when you have somebody that's doing a good job for you, we're satisfied with them. It's a good contract worked out by city staff. In that case, I move that we concur in the recommendation of the Executive Department to
Renew the contract.
authorize mayor and clerk to sign
Second.
the contract.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with item G of the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Mr. Person.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, we were off a week or two here, so the Finance Committee been hard at work today.
Okay, the first Finance Committee report is regarding Amendment A to LAG 13-001 with Puget Sound access. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve Amendment A to LAG 13-001 with Puget Sound access to extend the lease for a 10-year period ending on December 31st, 2025. And this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the second Finance Committee report is regarding the change of facility supervisor position to facility manager. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the change of a facility supervisor, A21, position to a facility manager, M28 position, effective immediately at a current annual cost of $8,528, including benefits. And this
Mr.
is
Mayor?
signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the council concur with the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The third committee report is regarding the executive department reorganization. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the recommended budget adjustment of $75,055 to the 2015-2016 biennial budget and associated changes in positions that will reorganize the executive department as follows. Authorize new communications manager at M26, fill a communications specialist 2 position at communications specialist 1 level, A12, leave second communications specialist 2 position unfilled and unfunded, increased print shop office assistant position hours, A01, from 20 hours a week to 25 hours a week, which is going from 0.50 FTE to 0.625 FTE, and increase the 0.50 FTE secretary 2 position to full-time. And this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
I
Person.
move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with this Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The fourth committee report is regarding hiring a Public Works Department Transportation Systems Division Civil Engineer 3 at grade A28, step E. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to hire the Public Works Department Transportation Systems Division Civil Engineer 3 at grade A28, step E, effective August 28, 2015. The budget adjustment for funding this position has been incorporated into the second quarter budget adjustment ordinance, and this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just an interesting fact on this particular person is that currently is a engineer for the city of Kirkland and has been for about 8 years. However, she lives in Renton and would love to work in Renton and is willing to take a little bit of a pay cut that she'll most likely make up in gas money in the first
Yeah.
week to come here. So we're real happy to have another city employee that lives in the city. With that, I move that the council concur with the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, and the final Finance Committee report for this evening is regarding a request to create and fill a new full-time legal assistant position. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the requested creation and filling of a new full-time legal assistant position. The committee further recommends that the funding for the new full-time position be included in the 2015-2016 mid-biennial budget adjustment. And this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the council concur with the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Taylor. The council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And then, Mr. Mayor, under old business, I would like to, there was a committee report that didn't get formally referred to the Finance Committee to take action. And since we're going to be off for about a month, I'd like Chip come up. It's another upgrade in a position, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Person, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Chip Vincent from Community and Economic Development. Our plan reviewer position in our development engineering group recently became vacant, and this is an opportunity for us to reclassify the position to a professional engineering position that it gives us greater ability to attract somebody with the skill set we need in the department, as well as a broader experience to meet all of our needs in the department. So given that the position has become vacant, this is an opportunity for us to upgrade it.
This item was actually on your July 13th agenda and referred to Finance Committee. Staff just failed to get it on the Finance Committee agenda. So you have seen the written report. We just didn't get it back before you to be approved.
Mr. Mayor, and I understand also, well, Chip's saying there's that this will give them more flexibility within the department, and that person can do a wider variety of work. I'm having trouble speaking tonight. I got a horrible sinus infection, so with that, I move that the council approve this upgrade.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Mr. Taylor, that council approve the reorganization or upgrade from a plan review position to an engineer position in community and economic development. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Great.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you, Don. Okay, Ms. Palmer.
Yes, I have 3 committee reports.
Okay, the first slightly lengthy committee report for Transportation Committee is regarding the conversion of PSE Intellite-owned streetlights from high-pressure sodium, HPS, to light-emitting diode, thank you, LED. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute a memorandum of understanding and street lighting authorization letter with PSE Intellite for conversion of the remaining 2,593 PSE Intellite-owned streetlight fixtures located within the city from high-pressure sodium and metal halide to more energy-efficient LED fixtures. In addition, the Transportation Aviation Committee recommends authorizing the administration to submit a business lighting incentive program application to PSE in order to secure incentive funds in the amount of $185,581 to help offset the cost of the streetlight conversion project. A budget of $577,686 for this project is in place as part of the 2015 second quarter budget adjustment that is made up of savings from the previous project, city-owned lights, estimated at $170,000, a general fund transfer of $222,105, and $185,581 in PSE incentive funds. And this is signed by the committee chair and member.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Palmer.
I move that council concur with the committee report.
Second?
It's been moved by Ms. Palmer, seconded by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Transportation Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the second committee report is regarding the Lake Washington Loop Trail Professional Services Agreement with OTAC, Inc. The Transportation Aviation Committee reviewed and recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to execute the professional services agreement with OTAC, Inc. for consultant services for the Lake Washington Loop Trail project. And this is signed by the committee chair and member.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Palmer.
I move that council concur with the committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Palmer, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Transportation Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The final Transportation Aviation Committee report is regarding the supplemental agreement number 2 with KPG Inc. for final design services for the Downtown Circulation Project, Phase 1, Main Avenue South and Bronson Way South. The Transportation Aviation Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the supplemental agreement 2 with KPG Inc. for the final design services for the Downtown Circulation Project Phase 1. And this is signed by the committee chair and member.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Palmer.
I move that council concur with the committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Palmer, seconded by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Transportation Aviation Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have one Planning and Development Committee report to present.
Okay, this report is regarding regulations for legalized marijuana work program. The Planning and Development Committee concurs in the Planning Commission and staff recommendation to adopt regulations establishing a process for local licensing of marijuana businesses after the business obtains an endorsement from the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. The Planning and Development Committee recommends preparing the ordinance for reading on this matter for first reading at the next council meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I
Corman.
move council concur in the committee report.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Corman, seconded by Mr. Pavoni, that council concur with the Planning and Development Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And that's all, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Pavoni.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one committee report to present.
This is regarding the Planning Commission appointment. The Community Services Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to confirm Mayor Law's appointment of Mr. Charles Seal to the Planning Commission with a term expiring on June 30th, 2018. And this is signed by the committee chair and members.
I move that council concur with the recommended action of the Community Service Committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Perez, seconded by Ms. Palmer, that council concur with the Community Services Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And Chuck Seal's here in the audience. You want to stand up, Chuck? And hopefully Clay can get you on TV and people will know who you are. I don't know if Clay's back there. Oh, yeah,
There we
go.
are.
There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the Planning Commission. Okay, moving on to resolutions and ordinances. We have one ordinance for first reading and one for second and final reading.
We actually only have one ordinance for second and final reading tonight.
Oh, okay.
Because the other one was pulled. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending the City of Renton fiscal years 2015-2016 biennial budget as adopted by ordinance number 5737 and thereafter amended by ordinance number 5755 in the amount of $16,865,306.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
I move that this ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Taylor and seconded by Mr. Corman that this ordinance be adopted as read. This requires a roll call.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Corman?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Pavoni?
Aye.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Moving on to new business, Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We have a lot of council holidays on here. So council has holiday, no meetings on August 17th, August 24th, August 31st is the fifth Monday, and September 7th is city holiday and Labor Day. So our next committee of the whole meeting is at 5:30 on September 14th in council chambers. We have two items on the agenda: Regional Fire Authority update and Energize East Side briefing. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Person.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee will meet September 14th, 2015, on a Monday at 3:30 PM in the council conference room, the Finance Committee. And there is 4 topics. It's Public Defender's Contract, Enterprise Asset Management System, plan reviewer, reviewer reclassification in CICD, and we took care of that. So we're through with that, and then the next one is emerging issues in economics, in the budget.
The first item.
Yeah, the first item you also took care of.
Well, that's what I did too, so there's only.
2 items.
I'm sleeping tonight. Anyway, so we have 2 items, enterprise asset management system and
Emerging issues.
emerging issues in finance.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Palmer.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to announce the Planning and Development Committee meeting on September 14th. That'll be in the council conference room. 2 items on that agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, the meeting's at 4:30 if I didn't say it. 2 items on the agenda. First is amending ordinance 6-1-3 and 8-1-4 regarding junk vehicles. Second item on the agenda is docket 11. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Corman. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utilities Committee that would normally be scheduled for 4:30 on September the 14th has been canceled. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pavoni.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Community Service Committee that normally will be taking place on Monday, September 14, it has been canceled.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Prince, we'll move on to you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move the council meeting recess into executive session for approximately 30 minutes, discuss potential litigation, pending litigation, with no official action to be taken, and the council meeting be adjourned when the executive session is adjourned.
Second.
Sorry.
Did you skip audience comment?
Well, you know, we didn't have it the first time, and I've got staff members here that would like to go home.
I thought maybe Chuck had 20 minutes worth of
thought,
speech.
yeah. Sorry for the interruption. That was moved by Mr. Prince and seconded by whom?
Corman.
Mr. Corman, that we recess into executive session for approximately 30 minutes for potential litigation, and the meeting will adjourn following the executive session. No action will be taken. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.